There was a time when people had enough integrity and pride and decency to know that people that carried knives were probably at the very, very low end of the spectrum. Scum, cowards, usually, and people that just meant ill upon other people. And it was a very, even to carry a penknife around was really not the done thing when I was a kid. Yeah, okay, I'm a mature guy now, but I don't think things really changed for many, many years through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. I think it was pretty an uncool thing to be carrying knives around, and I certainly didn't want to be around anyone that used to carry a knife in their pocket. And then now and again you get someone who wants to act tough, or sort of think they're, being a bit brave, and they pull a switchblade out or a flick knife or a pen knife out and flash it around a bit. And I remember someone when I was in Southeast Asia, a Westerner, trying to prove to me that he knew how to use the butterfly knives, the ones that fold double and then unfold, and you sort of flail them around, and ended up down there cutting his hand into 10 pieces, and I just laughed, and he went crazy. I said, you don't know how to use it, you're never brought up with it, you're not meant to have it, you're a fucking idiot. It's as simple as that. People that carry knives are cowards. I never spoke to him again since then. But here's the thing. We've got a society now where people have been allowed to wear masks since COVID, and they're still using that excuse now. The face covering ban never came into force. We've got a very, very, very weak government, very weak police force of badly trained police, and they're very young police too. And they're not physically capable police. There's a lot of very small Gen Z police, a lot of females that are vertically challenged. They used to be an intimidating force on the streets. Now they just look ridiculous. They look like road cones to me walking around. All the little cartoons off the cinema, the minions. That's what they look like, minions. And they're not intimidating. They don't know the law. They're not trained properly. They can't enforce the law. And their language is terrible. I've heard many police on the internet swearing, which is just unacceptable. Now, we all know the Met is corrupt. It's absolutely riddled with corruption all the way through. And I think the police force has probably caught some of that. But I haven't had a personal experience of it, but I don't think we need to. When you see so much vile hidden corruption, it doesn't need much uncovering, does it? We know it's there. But in terms of knives and what's happening on the streets, we just let it happen, man. The young men of today are sort of more likely to film something happening than to do something about it. There was a poor incident where a woman the other day, a young girl, was dragged into some woods by some Afghans, was begging and screaming for help. A woman said, "Do you need help?" She screamed out, "Yes, yes, please." And the woman did nothing. And in the meantime, this 13-year-old girl said, there was people walking by doing absolutely nothing. So the British public, thanks a fucking lot. If it was your daughter or your wife or girlfriend, I'm sure you'd hope that someone would help. But isn't it always the same? It's this Afghan, Pakistan nonsense. And we've brought them into the country. Now, whatever happens to Keir Starmer and that vile Labour government, whatever happens to them, I don't want to see one of those people allowed to leave the country, because their government will collapse. I want to see them brought to justice. I want to see them severely punished for what they've done. And the same goes for the previous government. I don't think any of those people, I think they should have their passports seized, and there should be an inquiry, an independent inquiry, okay? Now, I'm going to add another thing onto this. If everyone has a thought for a minute and say, listen, go to your bank accounts, cancel your direct debits and your standing orders for council tax, all of it. Cancel all of it. Now, if all the money you put into that, think about the tens of millions every day in each city. In each city, tens of millions of pounds. If that went into a private police force and you got rid of this useless police force we've got now and got a refund or a rebate, which is what we deserve, I think that you could actually fund a really, really adequate law enforcement private division, which would be responsibly managed by someone who is actually held responsible and transparent. I think we could also do something about the media and have a lot of the newspapers shut down. Because unless they're telling the truth and portraying the news, the BBC should have gone. Trump is going to bankrupt BBC. And well done, Trump. And sooner the better. I know his lawyers are onto it. I keep following it. But there's other newspapers that need to go. They're garbage anyway. I mean, we don't need that garbage and that brainwashing. We can get good, solid, factual information from the web. And you know what? If you read between the lines in any news you get, read between the lines means don't take it all on face value. Put your own opinion in there as well. And you'll probably be a lot closer to the truth than you ever will be. So don't waste any money buying newspapers if anyone still does. The best thing to do that is put it in your bird cage. So, you know, the police need to go, and we replace that with a private force which is funded by our council tax payments, because that council tax money at the moment is mismanaged. I believe most of it's stolen by mismanagement. I'm not saying they put it in their pockets, but it's misappropriated because it's mismanaged. And the road tax situation is vile. How can the roads be in such bad condition, all right, with the billions of pounds that come in? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. You know, I don't know what to say, but going back to the point about the knives, it's something that's just been let slip. And I think the judiciary has a lot to say for that. The punishments for crimes have been nowhere near severe enough. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely nowhere near. There should be 5 years minimum, no negotiation for carrying a lethal weapon. The knife with a 6-inch blade is a lethal weapon. They should not be for sale in any shops. They should not be for sale online. There should be a license if you're going to carry a lethal weapon of any sort. Otherwise, give us our guns. Because right now, the British public need guns to protect themselves. And pepper sprays. And if it's going to be okay for one side of the community, if you can call the community that, if it's going to be okay for one side, then it should be okay for both sides. And as far as I can see, you've got these vile people running around in their black puffer jackets with masks on and hoods on, which should be illegal. It should have facial transparency, all right, and the burqas. You should not be allowed to hide your face in public. What's the fucking point in spending all this money on AI and facial identification and biometrics if you can't see people's faces, you idiots? And yet you've done nothing to alter the law about this. It's absolutely ludicrous what you're doing. You know, the government we've got now is probably the worst government anywhere in the world. You know, and here's the thing. I remember a few years ago, we were looking at people in Colombia and Venezuela and South America and even Africa, people like Idi Amin and even Gaddafi. Well, Gaddafi actually managed his people better than Keir Starmer. And look what happened to him. And here's the thing. What happened to Gaddafi? I would fully support that happening to Keir Starmer and his fucking team. He came to a very, very sticky ending, like Mussolini did. Check it out on Google. And if you do that and you see that in public, you'll make damn sure the next fucking government isn't going to do it. They won't even think about it. Because since Mussolini was given justice, no one's ever done anything like that since. And quite rightly so. Someone learnt the lesson. When they saw him hanging upside down in public with the brutal end he had, that spoke volumes. And that's what's needed. Because people at the moment, they're fucking the country and they're going off and saying, oh, well, there's no retribution. They go off and write a fucking book and disappear somewhere, maybe into European politics. You know, so they're actually rewarded for their disgusting, despicable, traitorous behaviour. And I want to see that bunch here really pulled to justice in public. If there has to be a public trial, then make it be. but the punishments need to be suitable. And life in jail, minimum, absolute minimum, stripped of assets. The same goes for their family, any connections whatsoever. I think we need to have a really, really good look at their fucking bank accounts. All right, a really, really good look at their bank accounts. You know, let's just not mention, let's mention names. Yeah, Mandelson has just received 2 million quid. If nobody knows this, 2 million quid for a deal. And this came from China. Now, he's absolutely supported China having that new embassy in London. So Khan has taken a backhander out of this. I'm absolutely sure that that fucking Khan hobbit has taken something. How have we got an embassy known for spying already, which is supported for having an embassy right next to fucking MI5 and MI6 in the city, when the relationship's already strained? To me, it's not just insanity, it's just plain stupid. It's just plain stupid. You know, you can't find words for how stupid it is. But the thing is that when you realise it's just corruption and theft and treason, then you don't need the word stupid, because it is just corruption and theft and treason. And here's the thing. The corruption, theft and treason is the same as the knife issue. There's no accountability, and that's the problem. We've gone so soft and so far left, and people say we're right. It sounds like common sense is now right wing. Well, here's the thing. Right wing has been abolished for many, many years, and they don't know what right wing is. If they did know what right wing is, they wouldn't even have the balls to speak. Because if there was a real right wing, you'd all be fucking dead on the left. All of you. And the right wing would be in power. But the thing is, the mainstream, which you call right wing, the mainstream has been very, very kind and respectful, and a little bit intimidated by being locked up for hurty words, when jihadists can walk on the streets and are now setting up training camps with live ammunition in the Lake District, lest you don't know. There's training going on till the early hours of the morning with generators, trucks coming and going, supplies coming and going. They're building a better fucking army than we've got in the UK. And they've already got a better navy, the one that brought them to the shores, because we didn't even have a boat to send to Cyprus. The Royal Navy, right? The Royal Navy has got no ships. All right? I mean, these people came along in paddling pools and rubber dinghies, which we refused to stop because our government told us not to stop them. I thought we had something called the Special Boat Service, the SBS. But they're all ordered not to do anything by Keir Starmer. And it's about time there was changes made, because you know what? The lads on the streets now, the real men of this world, I'm not talking about the snowflakes from Gen Z, the real men of this world have had enough. And the real men will deal with this. And when they do, people like Rupert Lowe, forget about Nigel Garage, he's useless. People like Rupert Lowe, real men with spine and commitment and some real spunk, those people will change this country, and we will make Great Britain great again. Because now is the time. We cannot wait any longer. People are being picked off the streets with no accountability, with knives and machetes on the streets of a city which was once great, and we're letting it happen. So listen, guys, I think it's time the migrant hotels go. Drink a Molotov cocktail with everybody one night and enjoy seeing those fucking places burn. Because now is the time. I'm telling you, I can be prosecuted for what I'm saying, I know. But those places are insured, all right? You know, give them a shout, tell them to get out on the streets, and then just burn the fucking places down. And if anyone's got access to boats, do what we did in World War II, okay? Go to the coast, go and get every man in a boat and sink everything you fucking see in a black rubber dinghy. and let the fuckers swim, okay? Because now is the time to take action. If you don't, I'm afraid to say you're going to lose your country, and you probably lose friends as well. Go do it.